looking? Does it look like I'm looking at you as we're speaking? Because there was and I know that this looks much better, right? But I just want to ask you if it seems as if I'm staring at you or if I'm staring off to the side, out to space. What does it look like?
It looks like you're looking a little bit to the side, but I think it's fine. Like you're
Cool,
more
man.
than yeah. Most of you
Cool,
is
man.
looking right at me, so you're good.
You know, you know why I ask? Because
Why?
there was a while back when a Brazilian YouTuber, he
Yeah,
asked me to do a quick interview like this,
yeah,
and I said yeah, but it was funny because right now I have a monitor here and I have my laptop here, right?
yeah.
But during that time I had my monitor up and my laptop down here, and for some reason I kept my camera up, but I
Mm-hmm.
had the Zoom call here at the bottom, and the entire call I was staring at him and trying to make eye contact with Zoom, right?
Yeah.
But after the call, I realized, hey man, that must have looked awful. I think the camera only caught me looking down towards
Yeah,
the floor,
yeah.
and in the end, he never uploaded it. So either I was extremely nervous and I was a mess of a guest, or he found it useless to have a guest just looking at the floor the entire interview, right? But he should have said something if that was the case.
He should have said something. And I think the good thing is that the world will never know, until you talk to him again.
And I probably won't.
Oh man.
That's so
Okay.
good. No, 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 no. But I won't. I won't just because I'm kind of embarrassed, man.
Nah, don't even worry about it. These are technical difficulties. These things happen all the time. I've done maybe 11 of these
Yeah,
right now, so this is going to be number 12. And I definitely messed up on a bunch of them. Like on the first one,
yeah.
I had two mics. I didn't even turn on the first microphone. So only one of the mics recorded the whole first interview. So I had to scrap that all together and just use the camera's microphone. So it sounded pretty
Gotcha.
bad. Yeah. And then the second one, I forgot to turn on my guest light because I have two lights, one for me, one for the guest. So it's all these little things. Yeah.
But it's good, man. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good that you take the initiative to do these things,
Right on.
because at first you will find a lot of obstacles, difficulties. You make a lot of mistakes, but
Mhm.
as you move forward, you make new mistakes, but the older ones you overcome and you don't repeat them usually. You know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Tea Time with Titan. My name is Titan. I'm here with, introduce yourself,
Omar.
please.
Hey,
Omar.
hey everyone. Omar. Thank you. Chris, Titan, how do you want me to call you, man?
Whatever you want, online or when I was teaching at schools, they would call me Mr. Chris, but everyone that's my friend calls me Titan. So it's up to you. You can call me Chris, Titan, Christian, whatever you want. So it's up
Cool,
to you.
man.
Yeah.
Cool,
So
Titan. Thank you for having me, man.
you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I've been watching you for a while now on TikTok, and this is where Omar and I met. We met on TikTok, and you've been inspiration to me because I just love your teaching style, and I love the way that you can interact with kids and keep it playful and fun, but still get to the point. I feel that's something that I've struggled with a lot because for me, I'm like a switch. I'm kind of extreme. If I go fun, I go 100% fun, and then I can't find my way back to serious, or
Huh.
so for me, it's really inspiring to watch you be able to maneuver in between these two fields. And I really, like I said, it really inspires me.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I just try to have fun. I just try to have fun, but I welcome all of this good energy that I receive
Mm,
from the videos that I post, but especially when it comes from other fellow teachers, because it makes me feel like if it's valued by them, then something interesting is being done.
yeah.
But at the end, it's just me trying to have fun, man. Me trying not to get bored in class.
Yeah.
After teaching so many hours, it can get boring. So finding a way
Mm,
to genuinely like what you're doing, I think that makes the experience a whole lot better, not only for the student, but for you as well. And it's kind of like a cycle, right? If you're in a good mood, then that's going to reflect on the class and reflect on the students learning as well, and vice
Yeah.
versa, right?
Yeah.
You know,
That's awesome.
that's
And
that's that's the logic behind it, you know. Go ahead, go ahead.
no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And how do you manage to keep it so fun? What is it about you that can keep it fun but still get to the matter at hand?
I don't know, man. I think I the way that I see it is that I don't teach like a fixed format, and I need to have a textbook. I need to have some sort of material to
Hmm.
guide myself with,
Yeah.
because I feel that it's necessary, right? You can't
Yeah.
just improvise every class, because if
Yeah.
not, then your students only going to be learning whatever's in my head, right? And I
Yes.
don't know how good that could be, but but if I have some sort of material, then I can focus on teaching what's in the material, and then
Mhm.
whatever comes out of my crazy head. Um, but also using the material that is being used, then seeing how the child responds to it, then so I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't commit to teaching a specific thing. I know that I have to teach a topic, right?
Mhm.
And from this topic, whatever the child gives me, if the child finds something funny, then hey, I'm going to teach this a bit more. If the child struggles with a particular thing, then let's try to make this fun, because we're going to stick here. We're going to stick on this topic for a while until the child gets it. But
Yeah.
um, but that's the idea. And more than anything, I think it's just the mentality is, I'm going to mess with this kid. I'm going to see how I can give this child a hard time in a good way, in a good way. And believe it or not, they like that. They like that. They like being teased to a certain extent. And then they feel comfortable, like they can tease back, right? And that
Yeah.
creates a very, very good environment where they see the teacher as one of them, instead of as a teacher, you know.
Yeah. That's great. And Omar, where are you right now? Where are you in the world?
In Colombia, in a place called Cali, Colombia.
Cali,
It's the
Colombia.
third, I don't know if it's the third or second biggest city. It's a tie between, or it's a toss up, and I don't really know. You'd have to ask Colombians, right?
Okay.
To see what they say. But I think it's like, it's a tie between Medellin and Cali.
All right.
Bogota being the biggest, of course, and then Cali or Medellin. I don't really know which of the two is the biggest.
Right on. And is there altitude in Cali, in Cali, Colombia?
Yeah, we're like 1,000 meters above sea level.
Okay. Yeah, that's still pretty high. And so
It's
when
really nice weather, man. Go
is
ahead.
it? Is it?
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's great, man. It's great. It's 24, 26 all year round. Whenever you have really hot days, it may be like 31 degrees.
Nice.
And the lows that you may feel during the night, like in 18
Yeah.
degrees. So it's actually really, really good weather, man, all year round.
Yeah. And for the people listening, maybe there's some people in the USA, they're thinking, what is this talk about 30 and 20 degrees? You know, here in South America and basically everywhere else in the world uses Celsius, but in the United States, they use Fahrenheit. So we use Fahrenheit in the United States. But yeah, so basically the numbers you gave are very like moderate climate, very nice moderate climate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's great, man. It's great. I love this weather. I
And
don't know
where
how the weather is over where you're at. Go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, good question. But I'm curious, where is it geographically? Are you closer to the north, the south, east, west? Where is Cali?
It's off to it's near the Pacific, right?
Yeah.
And maybe about 8 hours to the border with Ecuador.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you drive 8 hours south, then you get to Ecuador. You have to
Got it.
drive maybe 13 to get to Quito, but
Yeah.
just 8 hours and you're in Ecuador. So
Okay.
we're the southern part of Colombia.
Awesome. So I meant well, I guess I'll answer first your question, about the weather here. I live in Chile. I live in the fifth region, which is close to Valparaíso, Viña del Mar, which are kind of like
Hmm.
popular cities for tourists and that. but I live in a small beach town called Concon. So it's
What's
like
it
maybe
called?
Concon, Concon, Concon.
Concon.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
in English would be like with, but
Mm.
yeah. So it's pretty great here. It's a small beach town, and the weather is pretty moderate as well. But in the winter, it gets pretty cold. I'm not sure how many degrees, maybe 5, 6 degrees, something like that. And then 7. And then in the summer, it can get pretty hot, but it doesn't get scorching hot like if you were in a city, with the sun just bouncing off the pavement.
Right.
It's not like that. It's pretty nice here. It's pretty nice year round.
Cool, man. Cool,
Yeah.
man. And go ahead. I think you wanted to ask me something else.
No, but if you
Or
want, go ahead. You go ahead.
no, I'm just curious about you saying that you're from Miami,
Yeah.
but you have perfect Spanish, pretty much,
Awesome. Well,
right?
that's kind of the same question I have about you. So I guess I'll take a stab at it first. So I'm from Miami, but my dad is from Chile, my mom is from Venezuela, and her dad is
Oh
from
wow.
Barcelona. So they met in Miami down here. And yeah, that's where we were born, made in USA. So yeah, so I was brought up in Miami as a kid, but obviously, like a lot of immigrant parents, inside my four walls, I was inside Latin America. As
Yeah,
soon
yeah,
as I
yeah.
stepped outside, I was in America. So, and obviously Miami, 60% of the population is Hispanic or of Latin descent. So you don't really need to know English in Miami. You can get by with just Spanish.
And maybe my question was more about not about your perfect Spanish, but your very, very noticeable Chilean accent, right?
Is it? Oh my
That's
Lord.
oh, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I feel
Yeah.
it is. I feel it is. Do you not feel it? It is.
Well, it's like
It's
that exper
noticeable, not?
interesting. It's like that
Yeah.
experiment of boiling the frog. If you do it at a low
Mhm.
enough temperature, the frog will be boiled before he actually knows what's going on. So I think I'm the frog right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so just through the process of osmosis, it's seeped through me. I'm a permeable like membrane, and I'm obviously organic, so I can adapt to the situations. And whether I like it or not, this just Chilean accent has penetrated me. Yeah, yeah.
And I go ahead, go ahead.
No, yeah. So to be honest, like when Chileans hear me speak, they immediately ask me. They're like, "Oh, where are you from?" Like I don't come off as a Chilean here.
That's
You know,
funny. That's funny, man. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. And everybody thinks that here in Chile, everybody thinks I'm from Argentina for some reason. I'm not sure why, but everyone's like, Argentino? I'm like, no, I'm from Miami. So I'm like, no, gringo. That was also kind of a learning curve for me to accept that term gringo, because I'm sure you probably know in the United States, term gringo is not a positive term. It's used as kind of like an insult, from Latins to these American folk. So to me, it was very shocking when I came here and everyone was saying, "Oh, gringo, gringo, gringolandia, gringolandia," and it would just really irk me, And that's basically how the Gringolandia name came about, because I almost used it as a parody. I kind of flipped it on its head, and I said, "All right, you guys want to call me gringo, so I'm gonna call my whole enterprise Gringolandia English, so I can laugh right back at you."
That's funny, man. And I wanted to ask you, do you feel that when that term gringo is used, it's being done uh insultingly,
Yeah, good question.
disparaging, do you
Yeah,
feel?
that's a good question, and the answer is no. When
Yeah.
I got here, people just said it, but without, it wasn't charged with any sort of negative energy. It was just
No,
very
it's not.
neutral. Yeah.
Go, go, go.
But yeah, just the internal trauma that I had of hearing that in the United States, when I heard people calling me that to my face, it would really shock me. It would offend me at first, because I thought it was a slight, but in reality, it's just their vernacular.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And sorry that I feel like I'm taking control
go for
of
it.
the
Go for it.
conversation. Sometimes it's just the whole being an online teacher that I have to, and it's something that happens on these calls, right? That
Hmm.
it's not completely synced, and there are times where I feel like you're done and I want to talk and maybe you're not done, so I find these. But anyways, it's I'm used to a lot of this interruption with students, and sometimes I feel like I'm in a class. Go ahead, it's my turn. So sorry about trying to take the lead on who participates or not, but it's just kind of like instinctively. I do it instinctively, you know.
Yeah.
um I wanted to bring something up, man. I think because I find that very interesting, and this is something that I feel, at least my experience in Latin America. Maybe I should talk about where I'm from before I start talking about my experience in Latin America. I'm actually Venezuelan. I was made in Venezuela,
No
right? But
jodas.
we, yeah, no
I know.
jodas. But
Yeah.
but we went to the States very, very young, at a very young age. I was what, 8 years old, and we went there on a 6 month tourist visa that
Okay.
overextended to illegally for 15 years, and I was
Right
never
on.
able to like legalize my residency. And I figured it'd be better just to head back and study out here because it would be too difficult, too costly for me, with not being a resident and not being able to access some financial aid. So I just decided to come back. Um, but it's funny, and that's why I asked you about your Chilean accent, because if you hear me speak Spanish, sueno como que si soy de cualquier lado menos de Venezuela. I don't know if you can
Mm,
tell, right? My
yeah.
accent doesn't sound Venezuelan at all, at all, at all. Partly is because I left so early, but also because I feel like, and you're right, the Spanish that was spoken, what was spoken inside the home was Spanish, and outside is where I was, where I had to speak English. But I feel like the Spanish that was spoken at home, because it was just us and my mom, it wasn't as much as the Spanish that I was accustomed to hearing outside the home. So uh, inside the home is the only place where we were exposed to a Venezuelan accent. Outside of
Hmm.
the home, we were exposed to Mexicans,
Hmm.
Chicano accents, Chicano
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Um, and upon returning, I've been able to develop a slight Venezuelan accent, but I think people think I'm Colombian for the most part when I speak.
Yeah. That's one thing I was going to ask you because you said, if you ask Colombians, and that left me scratching my head. So you're not actually Colombian from what you
No, no,
tell
no,
me
I'm
now.
not.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so where did you end up in the United States when you left Venezuela at 8 years old?
Place called Utah,
Utah.
Salt Lake, Utah, Salt
Let's
Lake
check.
City, Utah.
Let's check the map. All right. You're next to Nevada and you're next to Colorado.
Mhm.
Right on.
Yeah, very cool, very cool, very cool experience. I was able to live in other places like Sacramento,
Yeah.
and even though Sacramento is small compared to some of the bigger cities in California, it's just night and day if you compare it to Utah. Very conservative,
Yeah.
uh, an entirely different type of culture. I feel like I benefited from it as well. But um, but yeah, I can't complain. I can't complain. Utah was great.
Yeah. And there's Mormons in Utah, right? That's kind of the popular religion there.
Yeah, predominantly. We were actually, that's the reason why we went to
Okay.
Utah, because I was raised in a Mormon home.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So
So
my parents, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Tell you go first.
No, they just felt like if they were going to immigrate to the States, that they should
Yeah.
immigrate to Utah, where they could find other people of their faith, find some sort of support. I don't know if that's what they thought at the moment, but
Yeah.
this is what I'm guessing, right? That
Yeah.
that's where they would have more support, and obviously it was the easiest decision for them. Go to Utah.
Yeah. Well, I think Utah is a good place to go if you want to find Mormon support.
Yeah, yeah.
Right on.
But we're no longer Mormon. We're no longer Mormon. None of us are. None of
Interesting.
us are. Yeah.
Okay. So for the people that probably don't know, why would you leave Venezuela at 8 years old? Like I think I have an idea, but for people that probably don't know, why would you leave Venezuela at 8 years old?
Man, I've never thought about this. I've thought about other questions related to what you're asking me, and maybe we can talk about that later. But um, I'd have to ask my parents, but I think I know the answer. This is just hard economical times.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think they believed the idea of the American dream.
Yeah.
Because come to think of it, we were poor, right? We were poor growing up, but we had our ups and downs. There were times where we had times that were better than others. But I feel like my parents thought that going to the States, they would have more ups than downs, right?
Hmm.
Which was not the case, but I feel like that was what led them to make that decision.
Yeah. And I ask this because, Venezuela is a paradise, but unfortunately it has been plagued by dictatorial tyrants, lately.
Yeah.
So when you left, was there dictatorial influence, or was Venezuela still a paradise?
No, it was still a paradise. I was 8. That was what, in the early 90s, early
Okay.
90s, right?
Okay.
So early 90s, Venezuela was still, the thing is, I really don't know. I was too young, but I
Yeah.
feel like even though Venezuela was great,
Yeah.
I'm imagining that it was great for a whole lot of people, but also difficult for maybe the poor class, which is kind of like, unfortunately, what you see throughout Latin America, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that may have been the same situation there, and my parents fell into this lower class category, and they felt like, well, it may be better if we go to the States. We'll have more opportunities there, and even though things may not have worked out like they wanted them to work out, I feel like in the end, uh the States helped us out a lot, but particularly my mom, because we were raised in a single parent home, right? And I
Yeah.
think about how it could have been for my mom to raise four boys on her own in
Oh,
Venezuela, and
wow.
I think that would have been a very, very difficult task. But
Mm,
in the States, she was able to do it with a lot of difficulty, of course, but
mm.
she was able to do it and to give us a decent life, you know.
Yeah. That's really inspiring, man. So, man, there's a lot of different angles we can touch this, from, but I'm just I'm just happy you're here, man. If you have a question for me, go for it. To be honest, I'm kind of processing everything right now, and it's really cool to hear all your stories, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, that's it. I'm interested if you have a question, because I'm still thinking about, like, what about Chavez? Chavez was kind of like a presence that was kind of looming over Venezuela, especially in my childhood. I would hear a lot about it from my family and stuff like that. And did he come after you left?
Oh yeah. So we left early 90s. He
Yeah,
showed up in 99. He showed up in
got it.
99.
Yeah.
I go back to Venezuela in 2006, and he passes away in 2012, right? So I was able to experience 6 years of his government,
Wow.
and yeah, and things were much better, but in retrospect, you can tell that it was just inevitable, and perhaps it, and this is, I'm sure there are mixed opinions on this. This is just my opinion,
Mm.
uh, and perhaps if Chavez would have stayed, maybe he would have done something differently so that the current situation would not have happened, right? Um, but we'll never know. I still think that his policies were taking the country to a really difficult situation to recover from,
Yeah.
and I feel that like that once that happened, the strong leader that was could have been able to maybe um, lead the group of corrupt politicians that he had, right? He may have been the one to like organize the mess that he had and do the changes necessary to fix the country. But I feel like once he left, then
Yeah.
all of the crooks that he had saw that as a green light. Okay, let's go. He's not here. The tough guy's not here anymore. The guy that keeps us in check is not here anymore. Let's do as we please. And I think that's what's happened.
Damn. Okay. And so you left at 8. You spent 15 years in the United States, and then you came back. So you said you came back to Venezuela for 6 years after that.
Well, the plan was to stay, but
Yeah.
then Venezuela became unlivable, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And what was that like? What were the signs or what were the effects of an unlivable situation?
Man, we left quite early. We left in 2014, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like I had a really good job, which
Yeah.
had nothing to do with sale, nothing to do with English. It was more selling and distributing shoes.
Okay.
Um, I want to make sure that I don't bring up things that are may not be very relevant, not all that interesting. But
It's okay.
um,
Everything is like this is the International Bilingual Free Speech Podcast. You can say whatever you want here. Yeah.
no, the thing is that I ramble, man. I ramble. So I got to be careful. The thing is, we worked for a company, right? And we took this very, very small company and we helped it grow, right? We helped it grow. We were buying from other wholesalers within the country to distribute shoes. After a few years, we were going over to Panama and bringing in containers.
Mm.
After a few more years, we started bringing. After a few more years, we brought our first. No. I want to no. Yeah, after a few more years, we bought our first containers from China. And
Yeah.
later on that year in 2012, we went back to China and we brought all of the merchandise for December, right? And the way that the shoe market worked during that time is that you visited your clients, you sold your shoes, you delivered the shoes, and then you took back checks with you that were due for 90 days, right?
Okay.
They would be paid in 90 days.
Yeah.
And as all of the merchandise was in the client's uh, place, in the client's shops,
Hmm.
then that's when hyperinflation started, right? So my boss bought all of these shoes at 10 bolivares per dollar, right?
Got it.
And we sold all of these shoes expecting to get back 30 bolivares per dollar, right? So he's
Hmm.
making a nice profit.
Yeah.
And as all of this merchandise is in the customers' shops, then all of a sudden the dollar went from 10 to 32, right?
Oh
So,
man.
and all the checks are, yeah, and all of the checks are already written. And not one client was willing to say, yeah, we understand the situation. Let me rewrite a check for a more reasonable price, understanding that everything went up 200%. No one was willing to do that.
Wow.
So just getting getting all of the money back from the shoes put him at a, I don't know what percentage loss, but anyways, he wasn't able to make up uh with what he got back. He wasn't able to make up what he spent on the
Yeah.
shoes.
Hmm.
So the company went bankrupt.
Damn.
So that was the first sign. That was the first sign. After that, we set up a small business catering to university students' needs, printing, helping with dissertations,
Hmm.
things like that, right? And then we realized that it was becoming difficult to buy bread, and people were doing lines to buy bread,
Wow.
and yeah, and you could only get a specific amount of bread per day. As soon as that happened, and the fact that we were buying a home, and again, because of hyperinflation, we were buying a home, and yeah, I ramble, man. I'm giving a lot of maybe unnecessary details, but
No, this is good.
we were buying a home from a couple, and the couple and the husband wanted to sell us the home. He was a friend of the family. He wanted to sell us the home. He needed to pay a debt, which
Hmm.
for him it worked, right?
Yeah.
I've got a debt to the bank, which has also been devaluated because of the inflation. So for
Hmm.
me, it works. I'll sell the house, I'll pay off my debt, I'll get the bank off my back. But the wife didn't see it that way. The wife saw it, and and we had to understand her completely, because the way that she saw it was, this is no longer I'm no longer getting the money that I expected to get out of this house, because everything went up 200%, and
Yeah.
this is my children's future. I
Hmm.
can't give my children's future up for a quarter of what it's worth. And because of this, she came up to us and she said, we don't care what I don't care what my husband says. He needs my signature, and I'm not signing. As soon as
Wow.
she said that, then I think my wife took it a bit more difficult, but I completely understood where she was coming from. And because in the back of my mind, I had already been to Ecuador to visit. And seeing how things were evolving, I told my wife, maybe this is for the best. Maybe there's a reason why we are not, because there was a compraventa, a contract for compraventa. I
Yeah.
don't know how you'd call that, like a pre-purchasing contract, one that you're
Okay.
committed to, that you commit yourself to buying, and they're committing themselves to selling.
Yeah.
That everything's been negotiated, and there's no turning back, and
Hmm.
there's no turning back. And
Yeah. There you go.
um so we could have put our foot down, and said, no, your signature's here, we're going to buy the house, we don't care what you say. Or maybe, I'm sure they could have went back on and went back on the contract, but they would have had to pay some sort of fine in the process. But we decided just to let it go, because we felt like analyzing it from that point of view was good. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a reason why this is happening. Ecuador was nice, let's go to Ecuador, and we did. And because of this, believe it or not, I started teaching English, and now I love my job. So
That's
one thing led
awesome.
to another, and it was for the best. and
Yeah.
and that's very interesting, because that when it's occurring, you don't necessarily see the positive outcomes of certain decisions that you're making until much later down in life.
That's awesome. And so did you go to Ecuador to live for a while after your time in Venezuela?
I did. We were there from 2014 until what, 2018 maybe, and I've been living in Colombia since 18 until present time.
Yeah. Wow. This
Yep.
is so cool to hear all of your adventures and your travels. So, man, it's pretty exciting. So, I don't like I'm having trouble figuring out where to tackle this from. If I want to talk about Ecuador, talk about Colombia, talk about English. So, it's up to you. What would you like to talk about? What do you think?
I don't know, man. I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
What
don't know. I
about
don't know.
what about Ecuador? Like what inspired you to go to Ecuador from Venezuela?
Dude, Ecuador is beautiful. Quito is beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. And I don't know. I think I'm liking Cali better. But for a long time, I thought Quito was just the most beautiful place on earth. But
Yeah.
it's too expensive, man. It's too expensive. I don't know how
Is it?
expensive it is. Yeah, it's extremely expensive, man. It's
Wow.
extremely expensive. For Latin American standards, I feel it's very expensive. I don't know how, I hear Chile is quite expensive as well.
Yeah, Chile is
But
very expensive,
I
unfortunately.
felt I felt it was too expensive. And it wasn't expensive to the point that we weren't able to make ends meet, but because we live in a world where now everyone works remotely, I
Yeah.
felt like it was just a no-brainer to move over to Colombia, where I could get more for my dollar and be able to save
Yeah.
more. So that was kind of like the driver, the reason why I
Yeah.
did it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and so was it in Ecuador that you started teaching English?
Yeah. That's where I
Nice.
started teaching English.
Nice. And this is always an interesting story because everyone kind of has a different reason. Everyone has a different reason as to why they got into this in the first place. So what was your story? How did you end up getting into this, into teaching English, for example?
My luck, man, because I wasn't looking for English jobs. I was looking for jobs in which I could sell, because I felt like I was a good salesman,
Hmm.
and I was always motivated by commissions, right? But
Yeah.
um, legalizing my situation in Ecuador wasn't easy, and there was this guy that I met. He was very nice, and he was willing to hire me under the table teaching
Hmm.
English. And I took it. I took that opportunity. And once I noticed that teaching English was something that came rather easy to me, because it's something that I had never done before. Um, then I stuck at it, man. I stuck at it, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
You know.
And
Mhm.
when you teach, do you teach people from all over the world? Are you teaching more nationally? Do you, like how does your teaching setup work?
In 2000, I don't. How do you teach, Chris? What kind of people do you teach?
Well,
Where are
I
your
teach,
students from
yeah,
mostly?
most of them are national. Most of them are here in Chile, but I do have some in Spain and I have some in the USA and different countries. But most of them, I've noticed that where I am is where I get most of my traction from, where I get most of my action from.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm the other way around, man. I'm the other way around. In 2016, I believe, in Ecuador, I was contacted by a friend of mine, and he offered me a job at. I don't know if you've heard this. I don't know how long you've been teaching English,
Hmm.
Chris. How long have you been teaching English?
Specifically English, 3 years.
Okay, this was back in 2016. So wow, 6 years ago, right? An educational giant called iTutor Group
Okay.
came into the scene. Have you heard of this? Have you heard
I,
other
I've,
teachers talk about it?
I think so. I think I've heard of I tutor.
Yeah. Well, I was recommended to them, and what was the question?
Yeah,
Sorry, Chris.
like how does your teaching setup work? I asked if it's more national, if it's more international. Like,
Ah, okay. Yeah. So no, it was I was we were able to get hired on uh, in this company, and it was online based, and it was this is where I developed my style. This is where I developed my style thanks to this company.
mhm,
And once I gained enough experience in this company, I started venturing into different Chinese companies, right?
yeah,
So now mostly what I teach are Chinese students and Russian students, and I teach
interesting.
very little, very very few students from Latin America. Very few. The students
Got
that
it.
I teach from Latin America are, since I started my TikTok, and I've got maybe, without exaggerating, like maybe five. The thick of my students are from Russia or from China, and it's because of my experience with these companies that I was able to continue teaching students from these markets. Did you
Yeah.
hear about what happened to the online industry in China?
Like I don't know much, but I know that once the pandemic hit, like they got a surge of teachers, and then they started bringing their prices down as far as how much they were paying their teachers. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but that's one of the only things I've heard.
Well, that happened. That happened when the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
But in August of 2000, August of last year,
Yeah.
August of last year, there's a joke that I like to tell among Venezuelan people
Yeah.
because they understand me, right? Because I lost my job. I lost my job after teaching, I don't know, 5 years for the Chinese market.
Wow.
I and over 500,000 people lost their jobs from one day to
Wow.
the next, right? Because, and this is a joke that I like to tell, back during Chavez's time,
Yeah.
he, this is something that he's known for a lot of things, but this is something that people will never forget about him. It's the fact that he got upset at some businesses, and he decided just to expropriate them. And he would
Okay.
say, expropiase, expropiase, this business over here, expropiase, and this business over here, expropiase. And that became viral
Yeah.
before we knew what viral was, right?
Yeah.
That became viral in Venezuela, expropiase, expropiase.
Yeah.
And I make that joke because I feel like the Chinese government did the same thing, but instead of saying we're expropriating you, what
Mhm.
they said was ciérrese, ciérrese, ciérrese. They closed the entire online teaching industry down, man. They shut it down.
Damn.
Um, yeah, and they have their reasons behind it. But once this happened, again, sometimes you don't understand um, how things will develop in the
Yeah.
moment, and that's quite understandable. No one has that ability to foresee into the future, but it's funny how sometimes we allow fear to take over our decisions. So for example, as soon as the online teaching market collapsed over in China because the government shut it down, I freaked out, and I started knocking on people's doors outside of China, on companies' doors outside of China, which I had spoken to before, and they did something similar. They understood that there were tons of teachers looking for work, so they offered me work at a very low rate, right?
Mm.
And I had no choice but to take it because I was so concerned about the fact that I was without a job. I
Hmm.
wasn't sure as to when I would find a job. But what's funny is that um, thanks to the world that we live in, right? A world of social media, it was quite easy for all these parents and teachers to build groups on social media so that parents could find teachers that were without jobs and parents who had their children without teachers, because they take education very seriously over in China. And in about a month's time, I was fully booked. I was fully
Yeah.
booked, and I had to work for this other company for a few months till I could meet my end of the contract and say goodbye. But what
Hmm.
I guess the message behind the story is, if I hadn't acted uh, through fear, maybe
Yeah.
I would not have accepted this low wage, and which is not, it's not really, it doesn't really matter, right? In the end, I was able to say goodbye to this company and keep uh, all of my students at a much better rate.
Hmm.
But I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that we don't know how the future will evolve, right? Or what things will occur in the future, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's better just to let future take its course, you know.
That's right. So,
Or not
wow.
to freak out. I guess that's the message, right? Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Don't do stupid things because you're freaking out.
That's right. Panic could kill you, right? In a metaphorical way. If you panic in the ocean, you could drown. If you panic in the market, you could also drown.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
S- So, so how did you end up on TikTok?
um, hmm, my brother always had this idea that we should put ourselves out in social media, that we should put ourselves out on YouTube.
Yeah.
And as soon as the pandemic hit, I told myself, I'm going to create a YouTube channel. I'm going to create a YouTube channel. I didn't even think about TikTok.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, it took me a year to make my first video. And it's not that it was a year where I just sat there with my hands crossed. It was a year where I was too scared to post anything, right?
Hmm.
And everything that I would record, I would find ways to discredit it and say, no, this is not good enough, this is not good enough, or no, I need to fix this thing. And I spent an entire year like this.
Yeah.
And if I had not told myself, oh hell, because I saw uh, a coworker of mine who worked at one of these companies that no longer exists, um, working a YouTube TikTok channel. And I told myself, maybe I'll do the same. I'll do the same that he's doing. And I uploaded a video. And since then, I've had more viral videos. But this
Yeah.
was the most viral video that I had ever had, and it stayed this way for for over for over a year. So I
Yeah.
guess what I'm trying to say is that my first video went viral, and that
Yeah.
right then and there, I think that was huge help, because if my first video would have done uh, lousily, then I
Hmm.
think I would have, knowing myself, I would have kept finding these excuses. Oh no, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And I may have been posting something once a month, right? Because your mind tricks you. Your mind tricks you into believing that things aren't as good as they should be. And maybe they're not. Maybe they're not. But you're only going to improve if you become comfortable with accepting things uh, accepting things how you produce them at a specific point in time, and understanding that you can grow from there, instead of asking yourself to provide something high quality from the beginning. Just understand that it's a marathon, it's not a race, right? Just get started, and from there start working. And that's what helped me, because if not, I think I would still be in my head telling myself why this is not good, and why I would and this would keep me from actually growing my TikTok account, or just creating content. I think I would have been stuck not doing anything, because I would have been in my head.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, TikTok is this big blessing for us, right? For us content creators. I feel that TikTok has changed the landscape. I had a similar kind of thing to you. I lost my job, and then once I lost my job, I ended up teaching English because I realized that everybody in Chile wanted English. They're like, "Oh, you're a teacher, teach me English, teach me English." Because I've been a teacher, but I started teaching music first, so I'm actually a musician. So I've been teaching for like 12 years now, but specifically English only 3 years. So I'd started off as a music teacher, and then I wanted to transition to become an English teacher, but not like an ESL English teacher, more like a normal language English teacher at a school. So that always been my goal, because I always knew that they'd always cut the music programs first. First they cut music, then they cut art, then they cut sports. So I knew I was like, man, I love music, but I know I'm not gonna have a really good job if I stay as a music teacher. So I always wanted to be an
Right.
English teacher. But when I got here to Chile, everybody wanted like real Spanish to English lessons. So thanks to losing that job, which was terrible for me, because I was like, man, I moved to Chile for a job and now I lost the job. Now I'm stuck here in Chile. And there's this estallido social, and then now like COVID is like right around the corner. So it's been a lot of big events happen since I came here. But since that little moment of crisis, I was able to change my life and start teaching English. And I realized that I can offer a lot more value now teaching English than I probably could with my impact teaching music. Even though music is my love, I'm married to music. You know, I always say that, you know, like figuratively, but it was basically that in a moment of pain and fear and maybe a mentality of scarcity, I was able to find this new avenue that could really help a lot of people. So yeah, that was kind of how I started teaching English. And I guess the TikTok story for me, I'm also on TikTok, and it started because I had a teacher that would always follow other. I mean, I had a student that would follow these online teachers on Facebook, and he was like, "Man, I think you're good at what you do, and I think you could do better. Like, look at this video, look at this teacher, look at that teacher." And he would tell me,
uh,
"I think you can do a better job." And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if that's really my style. I don't know if I want to go on the internet and teach stuff like that. And he would always tell me, and I was like, you know what? I was kind of sick of hearing it. I said, you know what? I'm gonna make a video for you. And that's
cool,
basically
man.
how it all started. So a student of mine motivated me to do it, and I jumped on Instagram and I started posting on Instagram, and nothing was really happening. You know, Instagram is kind of a very saturated social media platform right now. And whatever, I was just kind of posting these videos, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, you should post these on TikTok." Actually, I have a friend who has a really crappy phone. Excuse my French, and he says it's all pixelized, and he puts up a video and he gets like 60,000 views. I'm like, I don't know. I've never really wanted to get into TikTok. It just seems like something for Generation Z kids. I always thought it was something like that. And he said, no, I'll give it a try. So I jumped on TikTok, and the first video I put up, I got like 3,000, 4,000 views, which is not a lot in TikTok standards. But from a guy that just come from Instagram and Facebook, I was like, what is this? I've never seen this amount
Right.
of views with like one video. And kind of like you said, the rest was kind of history. From there, I realized that the audience in TikTok is appreciative to see you. Not so much like on Instagram. They're just like, oh, look at this guy posting like 6 videos a day. In TikTok, they're like, give me more, give me more. Like they just
Yeah.
can't get enough.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to say that, well, first of all, I don't know if this is just me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do it too, but
Yeah.
whenever you have someone that you first contact via WhatsApp or on some sort of messaging app,
Yeah.
I don't know if you do this, but I do this. I always look at their profile picture. Do you do this?
I,
I
I
hope
do.
I don't
I
come
do.
across like a
I
weirdo for doing so.
I do, but I feel like I do it after I send the message. Like I'll send the message and I'm like, I don't even know who I'm talking to. And then I'll go to the picture and then click on it. And
Or even if I know who I'm talking to, I just become very curious about profile pictures and I want to check them out. But go ahead.
yeah, exactly. So yes, I do check out people's profile pictures because it is a window of curiosity, to see a little bit
Mhm.
into this person's life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I bring it up because you wrote me. We talked on WhatsApp, and I looked at your profile picture, and this looks like something related to music. Looks like an album cover or like
Yeah.
a cover to a song.
Yeah.
Um, and I looked you up on Spotify,
Yeah.
and I ran into your music. I didn't hear the music in its entirety, but it's funny because I didn't hear the song in its entirety, but it's funny because I kept it on, and it's not because I didn't enjoy it, man. I actually thought I liked the song, and in fact I have it in my head, man. It's stuck in my head, and I'll tell you why. Because it's the last thing I played on Spotify, and it's because it's the last thing that I played on Spotify. It's there,
Yeah.
and when I don't know if you've seen that I do these live TikTok classes on weekdays,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I had some sound problems. I disconnected. My setup is I have this. this headset so my students on Zoom can hear me,
Yeah.
but then I play the student's voice out on an Alexa, on a smart
Speaker.
assistant, right?
Okay.
An Alexa speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And something happened and I had to shut off Alexa, and I started her back up. And every time you start Alexa back up, at least mine, the first thing it plays, it's Spotify. So I'm
Yeah.
teaching, and as I'm teaching, your music's playing in the background. How the hell is this? How the hell is this playing? Where do I turn it off?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And I freak out with. That's one of my like the thing that really one of my biggest pet peeves is having tech issues. It just
Yeah.
really, I get really frustrated, and I didn't know where to close Spotify, because I was looking for Spotify opening on in a in a in a Chrome tab, and it
Yeah.
was actually playing on the Windows app. And
Yeah.
then I realized what was happening. I closed it, but it was funny. And since then, I haven't gotten the little melody out of my head. Du-du-du-du-du-du-du. Is that
Oh,
it?
really?
Something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Every
No
once in a
one
while,
can
I
bring
keep
us
hearing the
down.
melody. There you go.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually started using that song for a few of the videos, and thanks to
There
that,
you go.
it's like the number one of like my songs. It's the most played one on Spotify, I think, because of TikTok, actually.
Yeah, and I seen and I think that also helped uh keep that song in my head as it's been, because it's been a few days, man. It's been a
Yeah.
few days. It's because I was going through TikTok and I saw one of your videos and you had
Yeah.
the song in the background. Oh, here's the song again.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yeah, yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Well, I guess that's always great to hear when like to know that a song is like sticky, like catchy.
Yeah.
So cool. Awesome. And so Omar, what about your hobbies? What do you like to do for fun?
Nah, man, I'm a very boring person. I'm a family guy. So
Family
I
man. Yeah.
yeah, so believe it or not, teaching and TikTok take a lot of my time, man.
Yeah.
It takes up a lot of my time. So outside of that, I just try to spend time with the family.
Hmm.
And as of late, I've started watching TV, something that I didn't used to do. I started watching Netflix, things like that. That's pretty much it, man. Just work,
Yeah.
try to do something for TikTok, try to keep feeding the TikTok beast.
Yeah.
And once my day is done, I have English classes with my kids,
Yeah.
uh, watch some TV with my kids, and then just call it a day, call it a night.
Right on. And I see that you wear Under Armour and like sports clothing. Do you do exercise? Do you take advantage of that clothing, or is it more of
No,
like a
man. No, no, no.
okay.
It's just the climate, man.
Yeah.
It's good to have to wear t-shirts all day long, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm from Miami, so we're always wearing board shorts and like, tank tops and stuff like that. So I know what you mean. And what is something that people probably don't understand about creating content for TikTok or creating content for social media platforms? What do you think is something that people misinterpret about content creators?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Um, this I don't know if this is what you wanted, if I'm answering your question with what I'm going to say,
Mhm.
but one of the things that I've tried to not portray, and this may sound very negative because I feel like maybe this is not um, like truth for most of the content creators, but one of the things that I really try to do is I try not to give the perception that I'm trying to gain something from my viewers, right? I feel like in today's world, it's very easy to start some sort of social media page, and once you have a little bit of success, hey, buy my app, hey, buy this thing, buy, and that's something that I'm trying to avoid completely, and just not send that message, right? But that's just me, and maybe it's not the right way to look at it. Maybe I should look at it more more into the possible look at the possibilities of maybe monetizing TikTok, but that's something that I feel like I want to shy away from, you know,
Okay.
giving the image that I want to benefit from my viewers, and I don't. Uh, and and I'm sure a lot of content creators are the same way. I'm sure that there are the few that are looking at social media as a way to make money, and others they do it just out of love. And I think that's what I do, right? I do it just out of love.
Mm,
Um, and maybe at first I did it with that mentality, right? I want to create a social media account because I feel like I'm, like you said, your friend told you, look, you're better than this teacher, you're better than this teacher. And this is something that my brother and I would have, the conversations that my brother and I would have. Look, we can do better than this, we can do better than that. So
Yeah.
I looked at it as an opportunity to do something that would create some sort of income. But now I'm past that, and I look at it just as a way to have fun, as a way to provide quality educational content to your viewers, to my viewers. And believe it or not, man, I feel like if you're a teacher, especially a non-native teacher, putting yourself out there is like the best thing you can do to improve your skills, I feel,
Mm,
right? um for example, I may have a class, and if a student asks me a question, I'm sure I can provide it, and I'm sure I can explain it, and I'm sure that the student will be able to understand it.
yeah.
But if I have to do the exact same point for a TikTok video, I actually see myself researching and making sure that I understand all of the nuances behind these words, right, before I create my video. So I feel like if you're a teacher, especially a non-native teacher, even a native teacher, creating content can help you improve your skill.
Oh, totally. Totally. Yeah. So I asked this question because I feel like people are so used to consuming content and they want everything fast and instant. So I feel that some people probably misunderstand the amount of time and effort that it takes to make this kind of content, and to make it
Yeah,
consistent. You said that TikTok and your work and family life and home life takes up a lot of your time. And I agree, because someone thinks like, oh, you're just going to throw a video up of that's 1 minute or 2 minutes. You can do that in 3 seconds, but in reality, it takes significantly longer than what you might think it takes. Putting up
yeah,
little subtitles, editing it, make sure the lighting is proper, doing all these, make sure the audio is good, and I see that you use a lot of visual aids. You use a lot of, like, I don't know if it's augmented reality, but you put like a lot of stickers and stuff and like tech. I see that you can implement tech in a very successful way in your lessons, and I'm very curious about how you do that. How do you, because I see that you have a blue screen, you have green screen sometimes. So how do you implement these tech aspects into a normal teaching class through Zoom and different platforms?
it's an app called Manycam. It's an app called Manycam, and what it allows you to do is to take whatever whatever area, right? Whatever area will transmit it, whether it's your camera or whether it's your desktop. But it allows you to, it gives you a catalog of different types of images, and you can just click them and they'll appear on your screen. And it's really cool because you can go out of your way and create your own images and upload them to your catalog. So it's really, uh, if you're a teacher, especially a kids teacher, it's a great tool. It's a great tool. I don't use it for my adults, but I do use it for kids. And it's funny because the company that I was working for, they wanted to transition over to Manycam, and I felt like it would take away from my teaching. No, I don't need to have technology making my teaching more difficult. I want to just hold on. Hold on. Let me turn this down.
Is
Anyway,
that Alexa?
Alexa going crazy. So I'm just going to turn it down before your song starts playing off on its
Okay.
own again. I'm
All
joking.
right.
I'm joking. I'm joking. We should let
Yeah.
it play. We should let it play. What I was going to say is, what was I going to say? What was I going to say?
About
I forgot.
implementing technology, about this company wanted you to
Oh yeah,
implement.
yeah. I was very hesitant. I was very hesitant. I felt like, no, it's going to take away from my teaching. I like using my hands, and I have
Yeah.
to keep a hand on a mouse, that's going to take away from my teaching. But honestly, it's not the case. It's not the case. I actually, now I feel that, like, that without it, I'm naked and I can't teach properly. Like I'm missing
Interesting.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, because I always find it really funny when you're like, you say like hot sauce or something, and then you like put like fire or something. You put like
Yeah.
fire on your face or something, or there's like an ant, or you put different animals and stuff, and you do like some action scene where you crash into something, or like Johnny, you use Johnny. You have a little stuffed animal.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah. And when did that idea of using like physical props and stuff come into your teaching? Was that because of the inspiration of these companies, or was this something that more that came from you?
Um, well, the whole digital props came from this company. I don't use physical props, just physical props. Just Johnny.
Just
Just
Johnny.
Johnny. Yeah. But
And-
he's like the clown in the class, right? He gets beat up, he falls, and kids love it.
yeah, yeah,
He answers
awesome.
wrong, he answers all the questions wrong.
Yeah, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, and how did you get that idea? Like, what inspired you to bring Johnny into the class?
So good question, man. And I think it's because the company actually did obligate us to implement some sort of prop in our
Mhm.
classes. So I figured I'll
Interesting.
just use the puppet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Cool. Yeah, man. So, what is something that you want people to know? What is something that you want your listeners and your viewers, and probably someone that's just meeting you now for the first time? What is something you would like them to know?
I don't know, man. I don't know about me. Perhaps not a whole lot, man. I'm not a very exciting individual, but I really don't know, man.
I
I
think you're
really don't
too
know.
modest, because I think the amount of value that you offer to people is obvious. So I do appreciate your modesty, and you seem like a very humble guy. But we're all here for a reason, and we're all particularly very special. So I think you're also a really special person.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And like I said, I think what you do is great as well. And when the compliments come from fellow teachers, I think it's all that more, it's more valuable, it's more valuable even than when it comes from other just your regular viewers.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it, Omar. And do you see yourself in the future? Do you project yourself with plans? You're like, oh, I have a 5-year plan, I have a 10-year plan, or are you more of just kind of, are you just open to the abundance of life and let things kind of come to you as they develop?
No, man. I think I understood that late in life, right? That you should plan, that you should always plan, and that's something that I want to make sure that my kids learn, right?
Mm,
Don't waste time, right? Because you can't get your time back, right?
yeah.
And even I don't know, man. Hold on, ask me the question again, Chris,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. So are you a guy that like I asked, do you project yourself in the future? Do you see yourself in maybe 5 or 10 years in the future, or maybe 1 year or whatever? Are you a guy that makes long-term plans, or are you more of like a guy that's just open to the abundance of life? And do you take things just kind of as they come, and you snatch your opportunities as they present yourself based on your hard work and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, and that's I now I know what I wanted to say. I feel like I've always planned. I've always planned to a certain extent, right? Look, I need to save an X amount of money because I want to do such and such, right? So that's always been a part of me. But to plan the way that I'm planning now, I guess I think this is what I mean. That's kind of new to me. Plan not only okay in the next year or so, I want to be able to buy this for the family. Now I think I'm planning differently because now I see TikTok and being on social media has allowed me to see the potential of maybe embarking in some sort of projects, right? So this is something that I want to plan for in the long term. Um, but yeah, I guess I've always been goal oriented. I lost like 30 kilos, man.
Oh,
I was
nice.
huge. I was
Right
huge.
on.
And I think this,
Congrats.
thank you, man. Thank you. And I think understanding that I was able to accomplish losing all of the weight that I lost, this has helped my brain understand that a lot of things are achievable, right? That maybe before I didn't see them or I saw more obstacles than there really are. Sometimes you create obstacles. Your mind creates obstacles to not do certain things. And now I've realized that that's not so. You just have to tell yourself what you want to do and what you need to do to achieve it, and try to work on these small milestones and reach your goal.
That's awesome. That's really inspiring, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that kind of feel something really similar to that. So what do you think is the biggest challenge, or what do you think is like the biggest opportunity when it comes to losing weight?
The biggest opportunity, the biggest challenge I feel is detoxing, right? Because your body, your body's accustomed, your body's used to eating all of these bad foods, right? And I remember my first week, it was a week in which I experienced a headache for the most part of that week.
Hmm.
Um, so if you overcome this process of detoxing your body, detoxicating or detoxing,
You can say
Chris?
you can say to detoxify.
Detoxify. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
neither of them.
detoxifying.
Detox detoxifying your body. If once you get past that process, um, just keep at it. Just keep at it, and understand that it's a long road, right? You may not see results. The first month I gained weight and I felt so terrible. Why am I gaining weight after putting myself through this? Right? It's what I told myself. I'm gonna
Hmm.
throw the towel. I'm gonna throw in the towel.
Yeah,
And I'm glad that I didn't, because as soon as that month passed, then it was easier for me to see the progress. Um, so yeah, just understand that it's a slow process, and always have a scale, right? Because if you don't
hmm,
have that scale, it's not going to keep you honest. You're not going to be able to see if you had a bad week or not. And if you're not seeing this, you may pile one bad week on top of the other, and before you know it, you're gaining weight again.
that's
So a scale
interesting.
is really good. Yeah,
That's
a
interesting.
scale is
And
really good. Go ahead,
that's awesome.
please.
In music, there's this tool called the metronome, which keeps
Mhm.
time for you, right? It clicks from side to
Right.
side to keep you at a steady tempo. And I had a teacher that used to call it the lie detector. He would say, "All right, let's turn on the lie detector to see who's on time." And now I see that same the same tool as the scale is the same instrument as like a calibrating tool to show that you're honest with yourself.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what approach did you take to achieve these massive results? Do you, because like some people think, oh, I can't lose weight because I can't go to the gym, and other people, but like maybe the gym is not the best option for losing weight. Maybe it's more diet oriented. What was your approach to get these massive results?
Diet. I don't work out a whole lot.
Right.
I need to, but I don't work out a whole lot. And it's simple, man. And this is very eye opening, right? Because it lets you, it shows you how harmful some of the food that we eat every day actually is, right? So I just lost weight by eliminating refined, processed carbs and
Yeah.
sugar. That's it.
Right on.
Get rid of processed carbs and sugars, and you'll lose weight, man. Simple as that.
That's awesome. It's funny, you're like preaching to the choir here, because I'm always talking about carbs and sugar, and a lot of people kind of just roll their eyes at me,
Mm.
but and then now you're living proof of an actual change, and of real evidence that change can happen just by implementing these small little tweaks in your lifestyle.
Yeah, man. I think what was I gonna say? Dude, my mind's, and I think it's the nerves. But I'm better.
I
I'm
think
better,
it's
but still.
I think
Go
it's
ahead. Go
the
ahead.
distance. I think it's the distance, because to be
Could
honest,
be.
when I do the interviews with people sitting here next to me, I feel like I've never had that moment of like a lapse of time in between where there's kind of just like a blank space. But it's interesting because if you talk about like sensory experience, we have five senses, maybe we have a sixth sense, which is like a cosmic human sense that we're all connected to, but for the most part we have these five basic senses that give us all our sensory information. So I feel that when someone's next to you, you can see them, you can hear them, you can somehow
Feed off
perceive
of
like a
them.
sense of touch, there's a sense of smell, there's you're obviously not going to taste them, but you can probably taste the air. There's something
Mhm.
something very complete about being in the physical presence of someone. And when we're on this platform, we lose our sense of smell, we lose our sense of taste, and we lose our sense of touch. So we're only left with 40% of the experience. We're left with the auditory experience and the visual
The
experience.
visual.
Yeah. So I feel like, this is still like a tremendous feat, that we can still make this happen, being thousands of miles or thousands of kilometers away from each other, and we can have a conversation in real time. So thank you to technology for this. It's a wonder, to be honest.
And now remember, yeah, it could be. Yeah, that may definitely play a role. Um, what was I going to say? Now I remember where I was trying to get, what I was trying to get to, and
Yeah.
it's just eliminate things, man. We're not religious anymore. None of my family is, but there's growing up in a religious household, you memorize a lot of these biblical
Yeah.
uh, proverbs, but I
Yeah.
believe there's one that talks about if your left arm causes you to sin, then cut it off, right? Something along those
Nice.
lines. And it's true, man. It's true. We still, I have two young children, right? So we can't tell them you can't eat processed carbs, you can't eat sweets, you can't prohibit this completely from them, right?
Yeah.
So on the weekends, we still go out, we eat our burgers, we go have some ice cream. But
Yeah.
through the from Sunday to Friday, we just don't buy it. It just doesn't
Yeah.
make part of our grocery list. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's the best way to keep yourself honest as well, to make sure that you don't fall off
Yeah.
by eliminating all of that temptation from your house, you know.
Yeah. That's funny, man. We're actually a lot more similar than what it might seem from the outside. From Monday through Friday, I don't eat sugar and I don't eat gluten. So I don't eat bread. I don't, so when it hits Friday night or Friday lunchtime, I'll eat all the gluten, I'll eat all the sugar, I'll maybe drink a little glass of wine or something. But to be honest, from Monday through Friday, I live like a ninja. And then on the weekend, I have fun.
And why
Yeah.
don't you eat gluten, man? We don't either. We try not to, but why don't you?
Well, I've noticed that, like, I think my skin gets a little bad. I think I get like pimples when I eat like a lot of gluten. And also it just gives me a belly. It's like a belly full of air. It's just like this like
Yeah.
inflated belly. And when I stop eating gluten, my stomach gets flat. So it's really curious, and if you see what gluten actually looks like, it's like rubber. It's a hard
Yeah.
rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of come to understand that as much as animals probably don't want to be eaten, plants don't want to be eaten either, and plants have their proper defenses to prevent predators from eating them. And wheat has its own defense, which is gluten. That's why it irritates
Yeah.
some people. That's why people get allergies or they have the celiac disease. And so I've kind of come. It's interesting, the history of wheat, because back in the day, wheat was for rich people. Like the pharaohs would eat wheat, and like the very high class society would eat wheat. And now it's poor people food. Now bread is the cheapest food, and
Yeah.
spaghetti is the cheapest food, and you can make it in 10 minutes, and you have a full plate of 350 calories or 500 calories, and in 11 minutes. So I kind of came to realize that. And I've seen people with like autoimmune diseases, and I've had some small autoimmune like moments. And I've realized that when you cut down on these kind of cheap
Yeah.
foods, that your body just runs way more efficiently, way better. Your energy levels are higher, you're more stable, your mood is improved, and your focus is just augmented. It's like sharpened in a way. So I feel like it's made only positive changes in my life.
For sure, man. Do you do any intermittent fasting, Chris?
I did for many years. For many years, I wouldn't eat until 2 p.m. I didn't really need to do that, but I kind of like the like mental training of it.
Exactly. That's what I'm asking. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I always would wait until 2 p.m. and it was a gradual process. I didn't jump from, waking up to 2 p.m. It all start, I would eat just smaller and smaller amounts until I would just leave the house with just a little handful of nuts and like raisins. And I would eat that until one day I realized I didn't need that anymore, until I would make it till 2 p.m. And then I did that for a few years. I did that for like maybe 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 years. and everyone in my family is why are you doing this? You're so skinny. You don't need to do intermittent fasting. And I was like, I just kind of like to suffer a little bit. I like how it feels. And I always had this idea of like when I would sleep over someone's house as a kid, I would hate that I would wake up in the morning and be starving. I'd be like, fuck, I want to eat, but I don't know. But I'm like, I don't know if I could take their food. I don't know how much food they're going to give me. So I hated that feeling. So I was like, you know what? Now when I sleep over someone's house, I'll be chill. Like, I don't want anything, like I can make
Yeah,
it all the
man.
way until lunchtime. So it's kind of like this like silly reasoning, but I did like the whole mental, hardening aspect of it.
Yeah, man. I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm the same way. If I know that I have a rough day, I usually skip breakfast.
Yeah.
But if I know I have a rough day, I will purposely skip breakfast because I feel like skipping breakfast will allow me to have more mental clarity, kind of like what you said.
Hmm.
And I'd rather just have that over this grogginess from having your stomach digesting the food that you just eaten. I don't know if you can notice how your body feels differently after you've experimented intermittent fasting versus when you eat.
Oh, of course. And carbs make you sleepy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah. So now I'm pretty skinny. So I've always tried to like gain a little bit of weight. So this intermittent fasting probably wasn't helping with that, but it did help with my, building character and just, this internal strength, this internal
Yeah.
fortitude. So now I've started eating breakfast again, but I eat like a keto breakfast. I eat keto lunch. And then when it comes to nighttime, I eat a little bit of carbs so I can get that sleepy feeling so I can go to sleep.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Right on.
I gotta let you go, Chris, but I want to
It's time.
share a funny story, right?
Go ahead.
Because when I was also I had already lost weight. But I understood that I felt much better if I continued certain habits, right? And my mother-in-law, my wife's mom, she would go crazy. I don't know if you if I'm sure you know how Latin American moms are, Latin
Yeah.
American grandmas are.
Yeah.
Uh,
You eat so
they
much
they
food.
find a lot of joy. Yeah, they find so much joy in feeding others, right? This
Arepas,
that's
bollitos,
exactly.
cachapas, everything.
Yeah, yeah. And I was refusing her food. I was not eating her food, and she would see how I would go. Maybe I would skip breakfast. I would skip lunch. And there were times when I would go really radical. I did like 36-hour fasts sometimes. I
Wow.
I did like a week where I did 48-hour fasts, but it was all not because I needed it. I think I became a little obsessed with seeing if I could get my body to reach this point and how I would feel. And now I
Yeah.
realize it's not necessary. But every once in a while I try to do it to see if my body can how my body feels if I put it through this type of stress, which I feel it's beneficial stress. But
Yeah.
so I would go into these crazy moments where I would fast for 36, 48 hours, and she was losing her mind. She thought
Yeah.
that I was going to kill myself. And then
Yeah.
the doctor told her, lady, you're doing really bad health wise. You
Oh
need to
no.
lose weight. You need to do this. You need to do that. And she ended up doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, and now she swears by it,
Wow.
and it's really funny, man.
I don't know how you managed to do that, with that saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I think that's incredible that you were able to inspire your grandma to do that.
Yeah, yeah. My mother-in-law, not my
Your
grandma.
mother-in-law, sorry.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
she's in the same age bracket, but yeah, through your
Yeah,
wife.
yeah,
All right, got it. Awesome. Well,
yeah, man.
Omar, thank you so much for today. I know you have to run, so I want to thank you for coming and for sharing with me and sharing, with the people that are going to listen to us. So again, thank you so much for what you do on TikTok. Thank you for inspiring me and for countless of thousands of students online. So again, I appreciate you and thank you so much, Omar. Thank you for this opportunity today.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you as well, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. It was good. It was good. It was
Right
nice
on.
to find out a few things about you. I know
Yeah.
I know I have to get going, man. But what part of Venezuela is your mom from?
My mom is from the capital, but I got family in Maracaibo, Maturin, so I got people all over the place. I have
Cool, man.
I have I have cousins that I've never even heard of that, are all there. So, you know how it is with a Latin family. We have like 100 cousins. So
Last question, man. Have you ever been back? Have you ever gone back or gone back? Have you ever been? Sorry, have you ever been to Venezuela?
I did. Last time I was there, I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old. It was probably 1996 when I was there, and it was a beautiful place. But ever since then, I haven't gone back just because the situation hasn't really permitted.
Got it, man.
Yeah,
Chris, thank you, man. Thank you. I
you got
appreciate it.
it.
If you ever want to do this again, maybe we can.
You got it. Thank you so much, Omar. I would love to do it again. So, guys, we did it. This is another episode, Tea Time with Titan. I'm here with
Omar.
Right on. So thank you so much, guys. And Omar, where can people find you online?
Classes with Omar.
Classes with Omar on TikTok.
Classes with Omar. On TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, I think I'm the same way.
Awesome. So you got it, guys. There you go. Classes with Omar. My name is Titan. This is Omar. And we're out.
Thank you, Titan. Thank you,
All right.
Chris. Be good, man.
You got it. Thank you.
Bye, Chris.
Bye.